Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below.
Speaking of Star Wars, this dropped yesterday after I got done doing the podcast, and I didn't get the chance to look at it here. But it's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. This is such a deflection from, I want to say, reality. And part of it makes a little bit of sense considering how social media works. But at the same time, man, yeah, no. All right. So there's an article. It's not an article. A study popped up yesterday that says that essentially that the negative buzz amplified for The Last Jedi was actually by Russian trolls. Right. Now, the Russian trolls narrative has been used a lot in this particular regard. I've seen many articles say that the majority of hatred towards The Last Jedi on social media was pushed by Russian trolls, but that's not what the study says. It's not even what the person who wrote the study says. So it's being amplified as a way to deflect against the fandom menace and those who have been critical of The Last Jedi and of Lucasfilm and of Kathleen Kennedy, and they're trying to just chalk it up to Russian trolls, and even Gamergate gets a mention. So it's ridiculous. So it says here that an academic paper finds that half of the criticism aimed at director Rian Johnson was politically motivated. Okay, it wasn't an election year, so I don't see how the hell that's even a thing. All right. Anyway, did Star Wars The Last Jedi destroy the franchise and permanently rupture the fandom as its critics melodramatically have accused it of doing? Yes. Yes, it has. 100%. The fans, by the way, not all of whom hang out on social media. Many people I know who aren't even on social media. Legitimately, I've talked to friends of mine, diehard Star Wars fans. I'm like, are you going to go see Solo? And they're all like, no. I'm like, why not? I heard that it sucks. Well, you haven't seen the movie yet. Yeah, I know, but everyone's saying that it sucks. Like, okay. And by the way, this was the beginning of May, by the way. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, what do you think about The Last Jedi? And they're like, it sucked. I didn't care for it. So it's word of mouth. Word of damn mouth. Now, according to a new academic paper by researcher Morton Bay, the answer is no. The paper, titled Weaponizing the Haters, The Last Jedi and the Strategic Politicization of Pop Culture Through Social Media Manipulation, examines the online response to 2017's The Last Jedi, a movie that has come to be considered controversial amongst the larger fan base of the franchise. Yeah, because it was bad. It was a movie that I walked out of confused at first, told myself that I liked it. On the drive home, started rethinking it in my head. Came home, my girlfriend asked me how the movie was. I kind of blew up at her over it, not like in a negative, like it was her, but I'm like, what do they do? And I went and I did my review, and I was like, I'm going to do another video where I'm just going to complain about it. Because I was so worked up, so angry by it. And then I went and saw it again, and I was more apathetic to it. But that was the last time I've seen it. And that was December. I've watched Solo 3 times since I got my hands on the digital copy. I watched The Force Awakens a bunch too, and Rogue One. I'm a fan. Even if I don't like something as much as something else, I'll still rewatch it a lot if I like it. Could not get into The Last Jedi again. And I'm not a Russian troll. I'm a first-generation Canadian-American. So, deal. Anyway, Bay suggests that the reputation may not be earned, but instead finds evidence of deliberate, organized political influence measures disguised as fan arguments. As he writes in the paper's abstract, he continues, the likely objective of these measures is to increase media coverage of the fandom conflict, thereby adding to and further propagating the narrative of widespread discord and dysfunction in American society. Persuading voters of this narrative remains a strategic goal of the U.S. alt-right movement as well as the Russian Federation. Well, God damn it, Morton Bay. You nailed it on the head there, dude. You really nailed it on the head. People didn't like a movie because they're influenced by Russians. Are you CNN? Do you work for CNN? Like, I believe that there was Russian influence in the 2016 presidential election. I don't believe that trolls, because there's an actual motivation for that. You can understand the influence they're trying to have. What's the influence here? What's the end goal here? What is the job of the Russian troll farm? What is it that they're being tasked with accomplishing? We're going to go and troll Rian Johnson, comrade. Well, for what reason? I don't know. That's something they told us to do. Have while to kill until 2018 midterms. So we go out and we fuck with this guy. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. He found accounts on Twitter that, Russian. And then brought up Gamergate because, you got to bring that up. You got to slide that in. Now, the paper analyzes in depth the negative online reaction, which is split into 3 different camps. Those with the political agenda, trolls, and what Bay calls real fantagonists. Actually, I'm not going to lie, I like that word, which he defines as genuine Star Wars fans disappointed in the movie. So I guess that would be me. I guess I'm a fantagonist. All right. His findings are fascinating, saying overall 50.9% of those tweeting negatively about the movie was likely politically motivated or not even human. He writes, noting that only 21.9% of tweets analyzed about the movie had been negative in the first place. Again, were you just looking at the hashtag? What is the data collection here? And who was being politically motivated? Were they humans? Like, there are people out there that have commented on Star Wars, that have ragged on Star Wars for months, that I would argue are probably motivated financially over politically, looking whether to sell merchandise or looking like they want to get more AdSense revenue, and that's fine. That's the game you want to play, fine. I would argue that is a thing. But to sit there and say that it's 50.9% was likely politically motivated. So it's not a definitive statement. Likely leaves wiggle room in your argument, room for you to be disproven, and then go, well, I said it was likely, right? It's a get out of jail free card, which is one of the reasons why I don't look at the studies being anything other than hogwash. Now it says here, a number of these users appear to be Russian trolls. Now, moreover, he suggests that complaints about Lucasfilm's reported politicization of the franchise by many of the disaffected fans says more about the fans than it does Disney or Lucasfilm's treatment of it, saying since the political and ethical positions presented in the new films are consistent with older films, it's more likely that the polarization of Trump era has politicized the fans. The divisive political discourse of the study period and the months leading up to it has likely primed these fans with a particular type of political messaging that is in direct conflict with the values presented in The Last Jedi. I'd like to know which values he's referring to. Again, the only real, you've got Canto Bight with the whole PETA thing, never mind the fact ignoring the slave children. You have an interesting tidbit with Benicio del Toro's character talking about how, you've got these arms dealers that sell to the Empire, First Order, and to the Resistance, and that was interesting. It went nowhere. So what themes? I mean, letting things go, the past must die, kill it if you have to. Sure, if you want to argue that. But again, what does that have to do with politics? What does any of this have to do with the price of tea in China? He goes, in response, and Ryan Johnson totally backed this up too, because it's forever the victim. In a response to a tweet announcing the release of the paper, Last Jedi director Ryan Johnson shared the tweet, adding, looking forward to reading it, but what the top line describes is consistent with my experience online. Okay. Consistent with his experience online. Kind of funny, isn't it? It's kind of funny that that's what he's saying. Never mind the fact that the people out there have been critical of him, obviously, and people on Twitter can be dicks, pretty big dicks. But are you trying to sit there and say, Ryan Johnson, that it's really not your bad movie that got a lot of response, but it's really Russian trolls? I mean, there's controversy that will surround anyone who steps in the public spotlight. There's controversy surrounding me right now, and I would say, no, people are mad at me for something stupid that I did, and that's about it. And they're not Russian trolls. They're people who aren't happy, and there's that. That's the truth of it. But to sit there and go, "Oh, this is pretty consistent," no, it's deflection. I've seen some people say "Oh, it's deflection over to to get away from Kathleen Kennedy. This is strategically released this week." I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. But the study is BS. The study is crap. People don't like the movie. Not everyone who tweets it, not everyone who hated The Last Jedi is on Twitter. Neither is everyone who loved The Last Jedi is on Twitter. Twitter, there's 320 million Americans. 69 million Americans use Twitter. That ain't everybody, right? And I got into it with Peter from Slash Film the other day, and he tried sending me this Twitter poll That was like, well, you can clearly see. I'm like, it was like, dude, you're on Twitter, man. You'd have better luck, better damn luck going to like stores, Walmarts, and polling 25,000 people. You'd have a better sample size for you'd have a better data. It'd be a better pool than it would be the tech world. And 25,000 people is not the entire country. It's just very much trying to argue a narrative without ever trying to understand that maybe they might be wrong. And look, I'm not saying that people who like The Last Jedi are wrong. You can like it if you like it. I didn't like it. I'm totally glad that it's done and over with, and that we never have to deal with it ever again. And I hope Rian Johnson doesn't get a trilogy. But I'm also not going to sit there and be like, oh, for the motherland, for Mother Russia. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. So dumb. Hey, thanks for checking out this clip from $3 Theater. If you want to get the full audio version of the episode, you can find it anywhere podcasts are found. If you want to watch the video version of it, head on over to patreon.com/Mundane Matt and take a look at our $3 Theater perk, which gets you access to the full show that airs Monday through Friday. It's a video version of it. You get to look at this face, talk about movies and everything else on screen. It's great stuff. It helps out, and I really appreciate the support. Remember to please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.